we can also write a switch to switch off of ranges. So let's go back to our numbers that we have here, and let's go ahead and switch num1. And now our case, instead of being a fixed value, we can say case less than 50. And so now this is checking, is this number less than 50? If it is, console.writeLine num1 is less than 50. Break. Otherwise, case is greater than 50. Console.writeLine, and we'll just do the opposite of this. Num1 is greater than 50. Break. And then we need a default case. So our default is going to be, well, it must be 50 in this case. Console.writeLine num1 is 50. Break. And so notice that this is checking on a range there. And that range is going to be if this number is less than 50. If that is true, then we run this. If it is greater than 50, then we run this. Otherwise, we run that. So now if we run this, I still say enter a hat color, but I actually meant enter a whole number. Let's go ahead and stop this and then rerun it. And 42. 42 is less than 50. We'll run this again. 84. 84 is greater than 50. And we will go ahead and enter 50. 50 is 50. So notice it falls through to that default. So you can also have ranges that will check it. So I'm going to show you the newer C# 9 way of doing it, which is the same as what you will be doing with C# 10. There is a slightly different way to do this with C# 7, which is in the documents. But for this, we can go ahead and, like before, where we were checking to make sure that the number was between 0 and 100, we can do the same thing. We can say case greater than 50, and notice that we put and there, we don't put the double ampersand, and is greater than or equal to 0. So now this is going to evaluate if that number is less than 50 and is greater than or equal to 0. And we'll change this is between 0 and 50. And otherwise, if it is greater than 50 and less than 100, I'll just say less than or equal to 100, is between 50 and 100. Otherwise, well, we'll just say that is equal to 50. It is 50 at that point. So let's go ahead and run this. 42. 42 is between 0 and 50. 84 is between 50 and 100. And if I do 50, 50 is 50. So this is a way that you can add in ands and ors into each of these, but it can get a little confusing. I mean, when you're reading through this, depending upon what order you have all of this, is num1 greater than or less than 50? In this case, it's greater than 50. It is less than or equal to 100. Could it be that? So the developers added in something actually really cool. It's known as a relational pattern for switches. And so for this, we go ahead and do something similar to the ternary operator. So let's go ahead and create a string result. And so instead of printing it out to the screen, we're going to store it into a string. And so we'll go ahead and say result is equal to, and now what are we going to switch on? We're going to switch on num1 switch. So this is instead of saying switch num1, this is num1 switch. Now you'll notice that this is red down here. You have to put a semicolon down there because this is all one statement. It's all going to evaluate it and store it into result. And so once we're done, we need to say console.writeLine result. So we actually print out that result. So now inside of here, we just put in our patterns. So now we can say is greater than or equal to 0 and less than 50. And then we do this funny equal greater than that says if this is true, then, I'm going to just copy this here, then num1 is between 0 and 50, comma, because these are just going to be, it's a comma separated list of statements. Now we say greater than equal to 50, or actually I'll just do greater than 50 and less than or equal to 100. Do the same thing. And this will be this. Or, and then we have a third one. And now we don't actually have the default keyword that we can put here, but we can put an underline. The underline is the same as default. And so I'm just going to put the same here. So otherwise, so if it is greater than or equal to 0 and less than 50, set result equal to that. Otherwise, if it is greater than 50 and less than or equal to 100, set result equal to that. Otherwise, set result equal to that. That's what that underline there. And notice that we don't actually need to have a comma here. Sometimes people will put a comma there just because they put commas on every other line. But you'll notice that this is grayed out and it says remove trailing comma to conform to code style. Don't need to put a comma there. And then all we're doing is we're just printing out the result. So let's go ahead and run this. Enter a whole number. 42 is between 0 and 50, so that one is true. Let's go ahead and run this again. 84. 84 is between 50 and 100, so that is now the true statement. And if we do a final one and say 50, 50 is 50. So this is a simpler way of doing this. Notice that all of these are exactly the same. We're still saying greater than or equal to 0 and less than 50. Let's just swap the order there, but that's okay. Greater than 50, less than or equal to 100. And then we have our default here. Notice that we have all of those there. We just don't need to have our breaks in each one of those. Don't need to mention the case or anything else. We just put it all in here in one statement. We switch it, store the result into result, and then we print it out.